Jesus got in trouble for this all the time. I'm going to tell you what it is because it's the kind of trouble that we ought to get into. Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery. Welcome. I'm calling this vintage wisdom. Let me tell you why I'm calling it that. Vintage wisdom is about wisdom that's been out there for a while. It's about grapes that's been on the vine, grapes that have finally been used to produce a wine that has been placed in a bottle, that has been put down in the wine cellar and has been laid there for a while, a long time. And then you bring it out right when it's time. Jesus talked about wine a lot of times. He says that you don't put new wine in old wineskins. And at that particular time, or old wine bottles, that wine skins were made of goats and things of that sort. And when you put new wine in, when the wine ferments, it will burst the goat skin. All those kind of things. John chapter 2, we've been developing that on a Sunday. And we've talked about how Jesus had turned water into wine and the time between the wine, perception. What is it, the wine, or are you perceiving it, the water as the wine? It's a lot of little things like that. But tonight, I want to talk about this one thing that Jesus did that always got him into trouble. And it's something that I think ought to get us into trouble. And it's the kind of good trouble. What was it? Congressman John Lewis said it's good trouble. It's something that always should get us into trouble. And Jesus was talking to some of the religious leaders, and he made a statement. Anyway, I'm going to tell you what it is. Don't go away. I'm going to tell you in just a second. Make sure that you hit that share button tonight, because this is something you're going to want to share with somebody. You're going to let them know, hey, you need to look at this. If you're on the comments, hit the comments. Look, I'm right here. It's February 1st. Yep. It's my birthday. Yeah. It's my birthday, February 1st. And the reason I'm telling you that, normally I wouldn't, because after a certain age, you don't tell people it's your birthday. You just let the thing pass as fast as possible. But I don't know. I was thinking about my mother, and my mother passed away at the age of 80. And I was thinking about her, and I got a picture of my mother with Langston Hughes. She sat up under his tutelage for a while, or I think she was in seminar, in a seminar with him or something. I don't know what it was, but we've got this photo of my mother and Langston Hughes. There's somebody else in that photo. My sister has that photo. She'll probably send it to me and let me know, or find out who that other person was in that photo. If there was, my mind might be playing tricks on me. But here's what I found out. Langston Hughes was born, that's the poet, by the way, born in 1901, February 1st. So I was born on the same day that Langston Hughes, the poet, was born. And I thought about that. I made those connections. And as a matter of fact, I plan to do a show, hopefully, on some of the history of his life. He's a very complicated man. He was not always the greatest guy in the world, but very complicated. And it's the way our lives are. We're not always good every day. You know, people who are religious people like to, see themselves, we're just good every day. But you're not good every day. Sometimes there are days when you're not so good. But you know what? God still loves you anyway. He loves you when you're good. He loves you when you're not so good. That's the beauty of this whole thing. And I guess I get tired of a religion. And people are always, well, either you're a sinner or you're a saint. There's no in between. You can't be. I think you can be. I think we are all complicated people, and we're not always one thing or another. We're not always 100% one thing or 100% another, and we go from this to that. That's very schizophrenic, but we vacillate between several shades of gray. I did say 50 shades of gray. Very shades of gray. So it's not always black and white. Sometimes it's in that gray area. And we're houses that have not been finished. We're projects that have not been completed. And here's the one thing that got Jesus into trouble. He would say, me and my Father are one. I'm in the Father. I'm in my Father is in me. And me and my Father, we are one. And the religious people would go absolutely ballistic. And then they want to pick up rocks and stone him to kill him. Jesus says, but I do good deeds. You saw me just heal somebody. You saw me just open blind eyes and make lame people walk, as Jesus was a healer, one of the greatest healers of that time. And they said, we don't stone you or desire to kill you because of your good deeds. Those deeds are wonderful. We want to get rid of you because you claim to be as good as God. You claim to be one with the great God of Israel. You claim to be one with the Father. And this blowed their minds. When Jesus heard this, he says, now I understand. And he went to the next town. They tried to kill him, but he got away from him. Went to the next town. You thought Jesus would have learned a little more. I gotta kind of understand now. Now I see where you guys are coming from. You're religious people, and you're calling it blasphemy for me to say that. So when he teaches the next time, he says to the next group of people, with different Pharisees and religious leaders in the crowd, he says, I and the Father are one. I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. And they went ballistic. A new group of them went ballistic again. Jesus knew what really got to them. But here's what Jesus was basically saying. I know who I am. They said, we know who you are too. You were born in Nazareth. You came out of Nazareth. You know, we say he was born in Bethlehem, but they say, no, you grew up in Nazareth. You and your mother. As a matter of fact, it is even rumored that your daddy is not your daddy. Jesus says, that's neither here nor there. I come from my Father, my heavenly Father. I am the Father. And they went crazy again. I think here's the lesson we learn from it. You have to know who you are and to be able to look into your past and realize what kind of stock you come from. And I think this is, being my birthday, I think this is what I began to look back at and realized that I don't see myself, and neither should you or anybody see themselves as, well, my past was not the best, so that, I'm not a good person, or I'm dealing with generational curses, or my daddy was angry, my granddaddy was angry, or my mother and my great-grandmother, they didn't have good self-esteem, and they came out of slavery, and we happen to look back, and we have a tendency to think that we are less than, and we're hearing all over this country, especially out of a governor out of Florida. Don't get me started in there. Who wants to help erase history so that you don't know your history, so that people don't know where they come from, and not everybody's history, but people of color. Where do you come from? Who are you? And when you know who you are, and when you realize my image, yeah, I got some history. This is the beginning of what we call Black History Month. There is some history. I come from some people. And number one, I come from God. I and the Father are one. Oh, my goodness gracious alive. Can you imagine telling somebody that you and God, that you are in God and God is in you, and that we're one? Well, it was Jesus. Well, Jesus says it's a little bit more than that. He prayed to his Father and says, Father, this is out of John chapter 17, just like I am in you and you are in me and we are one, make the people that have connected with me one in us. You know, we're on a day today where we have been hearing about all the things that are going on. We're hearing about these 5 police officers in Memphis who just mercifully, just beat up a young 29-year-old boy, Tyree Nichols, a young boy. And I call him a young boy, but he's a young man, 29 years old, of course, until he died. And these 5, and these 5 men, police officers, were black. You said, well, what difference does that make? And I understand that, but I got to make this analogy because it was made at his eulogy. And it is the fact that these 5 black officers were only on the police force because civil rights leaders and workers and people in the city, which was Memphis, had marched to be able to open the doors to allow black people on the police force that didn't want them on there in the first place. These 5 black men were on the police force because Dr. Martin Luther King, who was killed not far from that place, was assassinated not far from that place. They marched, they fought, and they bled, and they died to be able to give these young men the right to get on that police force. What kind of image is in our heads? What kind of image is in our minds? Well, we forget too early, too soon, how we got to be who we are and where we come from. And that the doors of opportunity that we've walked through are not because we're just that good, but somebody else opened those doors that allowed us to be able to walk through. We got to look back and realize that we are born into this planet for a reason. I have a thing that I use and that I help people. It's a statement. It's something that we repeat. It's an affirmation. And usually when people are around and people are touching and we say the hand I hold is one of a kind. It belongs to a person that cannot be duplicated. Therefore, I respect my brother and my sister. I am one of a kind. I cannot be duplicated. Therefore, I respect myself. I've been sent into this planet for a reason, and I cannot leave until I complete my mission. How many of you believe you've been sent into this planet for a reason? See, that's why I don't care what a governor in Florida or Texas or anywhere else, or what a state legislature tries to write laws to keep me from learning history. Look, I'll teach history wherever I can teach it. I'll teach it in our congregation. I'll teach it where our church meets. I'll teach it wherever I can. I'll just teach it and teach it to whoever will listen. We'll teach it right here on our Vintage Wisdom program. We'll just keep teaching it because you see, you can't stop wisdom. You can't stop truth. And when you know the truth about who you are and where you come from, I don't care how many people want to stone you and get rid of you. They can't. They might get rid of you, but they can't get rid of the truth. Look, hit that like button if you like what I'm talking about. And not just like what I'm talking about, but you like what's being said to your heart. If you agree inside of yourself, wow, this is truth to me. I got a truth that I have to share. I have a truth that I have to tell. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Don't let people push you down. Don't let people tell you you're not good enough. Don't let people tell you that you don't measure up because of who you are, where you come from, the color of your skin, all of these kind of things. Don't let people take you down and tell you what your sin is, and because of your sin and you're like this is why you'll never be able to do this. You need to find Jesus in your life. Let me tell you something. What if I told you that you and the Father are one? That you are in the Father, and the Father is in you, and you are one. What if I could show you throughout these passages of Scripture and bring some wisdom into your life that you are one? What do you think? You think we'd find it? I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna stop for a minute, and then I'm gonna let me stop for a minute and say this to you, because I'm gonna close. And I want to close with something that I really believe is going to encourage you. Take a moment, and on this day, there should be a number coming up on your screen. It's a text to give. Use it. If you'd like to become a part of what we're doing and help us to do what we do, text. And that text, when you text, and you can also give on that text. And when you text to give, whatever you give, if it's $8.88, I tell people that's always a good number, 3 8s. If you text to give, it'll automatically set up a record for you, and you'll be connected to us. And not only that, but you will have also given something to help us continue to do what we've done. So this number's going to be there for a little while, and you can do it. Or you can go to myalc.org and do the exact same thing. These sites are secure and all that kind of good stuff. Look, I know my time is winding up. Thank you. Before I say this, because it's my birthday, I've been getting calls all day long, so I'm so glad that I'm getting off of this before all the beeps and the phone calls and stuff start ringing again, because they've been ringing all day. And I've been, getting a chance to thank people for just wishing me a happy birthday and all those kind of things. But if I could go on my computer, you know how people do when they look at it and they says, "Oh, hello, John. Hi, John. How are you doing? Great. Oh, Sue, you just came in the room. Come on in." I wish I could do it, but I can't see the names. I just really can't. So, but just because you don't see me do that does not mean I can't go on later and see you. I can go on later and you'll see my presence. You'll see me online, and I'll be looking at what you're saying. As soon as I said that, it did that. Okay. Anyway, make sure you text to give, and we would really appreciate it. And I appreciate everything you've done. Now, let me tell you this last point. It's what I call the I am point. This is the vintage. This is the wisdom. In this thing that I've used as an affirmation, I'm able to say this: I am prosperous. I am healed. I am sound of mind. Say it with me. I am prosperous. I am healed. I am sound of mind. And here's the last one. And I am stable in my emotions. Start learning to make these affirmations a part of your morning and daily ritual. Because what's coming up, that's why I'm back online. What's coming up, you're going to need it. You're going to need these affirmations. Hey, check us out on Sunday mornings, 11 a.m. And other times online. And I'm going to be right here with you. And thank you for all the birthday wishes. And love you. Bye-bye. Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery. And I want to encourage you about one thing. Don't you let your season pass you by. I've been talking on these little bitty clips about flowers and opening and blooming. But it takes pollination. In other words, it takes somebody going from one flower to another flower, and that's somebody, little bees and things of that sort. But just like bees will go from one flower to another flower and cause pollination and cause those flowers to reproduce, I think we touch each other's lives the same way. When we smile at each other, we reproduce joy and happiness. Our world needs so much. This is what ALC does. And when you give, you make a huge difference in our world. Take the time, go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. Hit the donate button. You can give that way. A second way to give is to be able to use your text to give on your phone. And you can send it to the number 713-742-2035. That's 713-742-2035. And put however much the amount you want to give right in that text message part of it and send it safe and secure. Not only that, but you can use your app. Don't forget, if you're in the app right now, you can give through it right now. And then also, you can use your P.O. box. Just slip a check. People still do checks nowadays. Or you can give through your debit cards or credit cards if you got an envelope. But if you're just mailing it, put a stamp on that envelope and you can send it to Abundant Life Center, P.O. Box 772-300, Houston, Texas 77215. Thank you so much for everything you do, for your contributions. I really appreciate you. Thank you, ALC, Abundant Life Center, and for all of you, ALC globally. Thank you for being a part of our lives. I hope we can continue to be a part of your life. Love you. See ya. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button, smash it, crash it,